Okay. All right. Time to bring up the past. Hey, what's up you guys? It's Carson and welcome back to my YouTube channel, and in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you lessons I've learned throughout this pandemic, particularly in lockdown. I'm really excited to share this video with you all because I feel like we all have things that we have learned and reflected upon and have changed about ourselves, which I think is so beautiful. And it just goes to show that like time really can heal all wounds and time changes a lot. And I think that's an important thing to remember and one of the lessons that I actually learned, but we'll get into that. But before we get into that, if you're new here and you have no idea who I am, hi, I'm Carson, my pronouns are she, her, and I'm a writer who focuses on poetry and songwriting. I also talk about mental health and other topics on my YouTube channel, and if any of that is interesting to you, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. Comment below something you learned in this pandemic, and subscribe. Also, hit that post notification bell to be notified whenever I upload. Now, with all that said, let's get into the list. Number 1, go with the flow. I know that sounds like some hippy-dippy advice, but especially when it came to this pandemic, it kind of saved my sanity like a lot. I think especially when it came to understanding COVID, we all had to go with the flow and understand that we don't know everything. And going with the flow is something that I used to do in a very toxic way. I would go with the flow in scenarios because I want it to be liked rather than it felt right. I know the difference now. If you're going with the flow to impress others, you're not doing it right. If you're going with the flow because life is just leading you down that path, that's when you're doing it right. Sticking to one rigid idea and telling yourself that this is the only way it could happen, I think that hinders a lot of us more than it helps any of us. And I did not expect anything to happen the way it did, but I'm grateful it happened the way it did because now I'm at a place where I am more confident, more stable in myself, and more aware of when I am good and when I am bad. Like more aware of my body and myself. Number 2, putting your energy into work instead of drinking all day is probably a better use of your time. This is a specific one just for me, obviously. Something that was told to me when I was very young and I did not understand it until this pandemic was that work is the best type of coping mechanism. When you put all of your pain and frustration into something tangible, then you see it manifest as something good instead of something bad. That's something that I hope to remember even when times get tough. And I did utilize that, especially with my recent social media break. I really just tried my best to create as much as I could, and what I did create, most of it I'm never going to share, but boy did it bring up a lot of stuff for me, and was it cathartic as hell to get that off my chest. Number 3, hustle culture is toxic. Toxic. Okay, let me explain. I remember in the beginning of this pandemic when people were like, Shakespeare wrote Hamlet in a pandemic, what are you going to do? You know what we're not going to do? We are not going to shame people into not writing an Shakespearean play in a pandemic because maybe their mental health isn't good. Maybe their financial situation isn't all that great. Maybe they're stuck in an abusive household. Maybe they don't want to write a Shakespearean play. Maybe they want to go be a nurse and help out people in this pandemic. Maybe they want to go tap dancing. You don't know someone's life. I think this whole idea that we have to hustle until we die and just keep on working to get success is so toxic, and especially with social media doing what I'm doing right now. I knew I was going to lose viewership when I took my break. There's this unfortunate fear that everyone just keeps pushing out content so they're remembered instead of somebody else. That we're all kind of fighting for the same audience here. And I'm just sitting here like, no, I don't want to subscribe to that anymore. I want to make content when I feel good enough to make content and take the breaks when I need to take the breaks and not give a flying potato who gives a flying potato about it. I don't know why I'm using potatoes, but like, that was the first thing that came to mind. So yeah, it's a flying potato now. Deal with it. But seriously, don't feel like you need to constantly work your entire life in order to be valued, in order to mean something to others, because that is just stupid. Number 5, being alone doesn't mean you're lonely. I've spent most of this pandemic physically alone, like total hermit, isolated, alone. And now that things are opening back up, I'm slowly starting to see more people. I'm slowly starting to get to a point where I'm like, okay, I'm comfortable with this. All right, I'm good with hanging out with you this weekend. And I'm trying to learn how to do that in a healthy way now, because I've realized pre-pandemic, my social life was toxic. But one thing I realized within being by myself was that I never felt lonely. I didn't feel sad about being alone. I knew I was alone because we were in a pandemic. I knew that I was alone because seeing people was just not an option. And I found that I actually enjoy spending time by myself. Like, I really enjoy it. In fact, sometimes I enjoy it more than seeing my friends. That's something I'm going to take with me past this pandemic. I want to never forget the importance of enjoying my own company. It has helped me learn more about myself and understand the difference between independence and codependence in relationships, which that was something I was already starting to work on prior to the pandemic, but just kind of amplified when everything shut down. And I want to share this here. Just because you're sitting alone at home right now doesn't mean you're lonely. There are people out there who love and support you. And if you don't feel that way, I understand. And there are people who do understand and want to help you, professionals who want to help you. I'm going to have some links in the description for resources that you might benefit from. Just know you're not alone, okay? Here, I'm going to give you a hug. Here. We all could use this hug right now. There we go. That felt good. Number 6, I don't care about my label anymore. Now, this one is more of a personal journey that I've gone on for the last couple of years, but hear me out. So last Pride, I did this coming out series on my Instagram, IGTV, where I came out as demi-bi. So that was about a year ago. And I want to say about a month after I uploaded that, I just didn't care anymore. I realized that being out doesn't have to mean constantly explaining myself. Because I felt like for a long time, I was just trying to prove that my queer identity was a thing. I come across with straight privilege. A little less so now after this haircut, apparently. But, I mean, I don't see it. I still see myself as the person who comes across as straight. And a lot of people that I've interacted with, particularly men, try to take my sexuality and work it around them. And I'm just done with that. I'm queer. At the end of the day, I will fall in love with who I will fall in love with. And the rest of it is for them. What you need to know is that I do identify as queer, and that is the end of the discussion. Because at this point, I don't feel like I have to prove it anymore. Number 7, friendships can end without drama. I know, shocking. Up until this pandemic, I have never experienced a healthy friend breakup. There is always some sort of drama attached to it. There's always someone calling someone names or screaming or crazy DMs or things of that nature. And when I had a friendship recently end without any drama or any bullshit, it was just because we both had grown apart. I felt so much peace in knowing that, like, wait, that's okay. Friendships can end without drama. It doesn't have to be this terrifying, traumatizing experience. It can just be what it is. And when I finally realized that, my whole perspective around friendship just changed entirely. It has brought me to a more healthy mindset when it comes to moving into new friendships and relationships in the future. Sometimes you can come into contact with someone and know they're going to be in your life forever, and sometimes you can meet someone and things just don't work out, and it's okay. And you're meant to go on your different journeys, but you came together in that moment for a reason, and that's a beautiful thing. Number 8, if you can't let go, let it be. This one was actually taught to me by my therapist, because one thing that I've always struggled with was the understanding of how to let it go. Not only have I learned how to do that in this pandemic, but I also learned how to get there when you don't want to go there. Sometimes letting it go is just not possible in that current moment, and that's fine. Sometimes you're just not ready. But letting it be and sitting with it and being mindful of it and mindful of what it is, honestly, brings so much healing in and of itself. Like for me, if I'm like ruminating on something that I can't let go of, I'll just be like, all right, this is what you're going through. You are experiencing this thought because you're having this emotion, and why are you having this emotion? Is it based off something you haven't healed within yourself? When has this emotion come up for you before? Things like that, where you start to like see it for what it is. I don't know, for me personally, when I started doing that, it definitely made a world of difference. Number 9, I could be single forever and be completely fine with it. Like, honestly, I could die a single Pringle and I would not lose much sleep over it. For a long time, I liked the idea of being in a relationship, but not actually wanting to be in a relationship. And when I finally accepted the fact that I didn't want to be in a relationship just yet, oh man, things became so much easier. Do you know how much power as a woman you feel when you don't want to be in a relationship and you own that? Like, I've never felt more like a bad bitch in my life. I'm saying this not because I'm like, you need to be this way. No, I'm not saying that at all. What I am saying is, if you do not want to be in a relationship, own that shit and be okay with that and live your best life until you're ready. And if you're never ready, that's fine too. Asexuality is a thing. Number 10, hair is hair. And if you don't want to have it, cut it off. The freedom I have felt since cutting my hair, I feel like a whole different person. I walk with a whole new attitude. I handle things with a whole new gusto, and I feel the most like myself than I have in years. It's not only forced me to go outside of my comfort zone in a lot of ways, it's changed the way that I even dress. Like, look at me. I'm wearing a shirt under a romper. This is new for me. I can still be figuring out my expression. I can still experiment with that, even though I'm in my near 20s. Not near 20s, I'm mid 20s, Jesus Christ. As I'm about to enter my mid 20s, I'm just reaching this point where I'm like, all right, there's so much more to figure out about myself. And this all came from cutting my hair, where like I just had to look in the mirror and be like, all right, who is this person sitting in front of me? And I'm still figuring out that person. And I'm really excited so far, because the things that I'm discovering are just like, whoa, didn't realize that. But we're not gonna talk about that today. That's not what this video is about. So remember that if you feel like you have to hold on to something because it's what you've known all your life, but it's weighing you down physically or emotionally or literally, just cut it out and see what lies ahead. I promise you it'll not be as scary as you think it is. But yeah, with all of that said, that's this week's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Comment below something you learned in this pandemic. I'm really excited to read the comments under this video, and subscribe. Also, hit that post notification bell to be notified whenever I upload, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.